All right, Littleton One here, guys. I've been trying to get this thing to stop. There's this feature on Facebook, if you didn't know, if you're uploading videos, especially if you're doing mobile uploads like this, short vlogs, that it can make your screen go plain white where you can barely see the picture. And what that does is that gives you like be able to vlog at night, to give you a flashlight, sort of say. And I've been trying to deal with that. But I wanted to touch on something I got asked just yesterday, and it was essentially what scan tool I use, and have I run into any issues with it, and what do I do to get around those issues. To put it plain and simple, when it comes to getting around issues, the best way of, when it comes to a scan tool, is have the factory scan tool. That's the best way of getting around it. However, in most cases, the factory scan tools are expensive and it's hard to get a hold of them, or so and such, or, you know, everyone's situation is different. I use an Altel 905 BT, or I can't remember, because I had two. I had a 908 and I had a 905. One of them got stolen. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was my 908 that got stolen, and my 905 BT is what I have now. I couldn't get the TS model, not because I couldn't afford to get it at the time. It was because I needed to get this one, and the TS were on back order. So I ended up having to get the Bluetooth version instead of the one that allows me to program wheel sensors. Of course, Altel does offer a standalone version of it as well, but that wasn't really a big deal at the time. I was trying to get the RAM running. The biggest thing I can say about when it comes to issues, if you're not fortunate enough to be able to get the factory scan tool, is to do what the information has already been given out by a lot of famous YouTubers, like Eric O from Self-Made Auto. His advice multiple times, he stated that you should, if you are going to have an aftermarket scan tool, the best bet is to have multiple, because every scan tool has an issue with certain vehicles, and some have better attributes than others. For instance, Altel does not like Chrysler vehicles when it comes to misfire data. However, I have the Altel, and I have what's the other thing? I have a Launch, and I don't remember what the other one is. I rarely use it, so I don't remember what it is. The other one's the YTAC. The other one's the YTAC. So I have the dealer scan tool that is for this truck. I have the dealer software. I think I've actually showed the YTAC in use while I was fixing this truck at the very beginning. So I have the YTAC, the Launch, and an Altel. I think I have the 905 BT, like I said, and that's the one stole my 908. Only the tablet, not the actual scan tool. Well, not the actual part you actually need for it to work. But what I've done is to get around that. In most cases, I don't reach for the Launch or the YTAC. Mostly being is that YTAC is mostly PC based. I do have a Surface Pro 4 that I use for a scope. I use it for the YTAC, and I use it for something else. I can't remember what else I use it for. But essentially, that's computer based. So I have to always make sure, focus. I have to always make sure that that's always there. You know, I got to make sure that it's charged. Whereas I also have to do that with the tablet too, but you got to remember, this is this is not a laptop really. It's an actual computer / tablet. So I'm going to be using it for more things than that. I had it to where I had a standalone tablet, my Surface Pro 3, that I use specifically for it. But the problem is that you always forget to turn those off, and they always die. Whereas your tablet, for your dedicated scan tool, you always remember to turn it off. And not to mention, it's also quicker to charge that up. You know, at least to enough to where you can do what you need to do. So the YTAC's kind of like I don't go to it first because I have to get my tablet or my Surface Pro and make sure it's charged. I don't really go for my launch because usually in most cases the launch is going to be somewhere I'm either not going to remember where it is, or it's going to be somewhere inconvenient for me at that point. And what I mean by that is, like, the Autel is in a laptop case that is easily seen, it's easily noticeable, I can always grab it. So if I have any issue with anyone's car or with my cars, I always grab the Autel. And that's not because I think the Autel is better. It's because it's the most quickest thing that I can get a hold of. The YTech would be a better scan tool, but again, there's no guarantee that my tablet will be charged. There's no guarantee that, you know, I'll be in a situation where I can use it, because the YTech primarily, if I need to know anything that's wrong with my truck, like an update, it needs to be connected to the internet. And Surface Pros, unless you get a specific model, doesn't actually have the ability to do it without Wi-Fi. And mine does not have the cellular capability. Whereas also my tablet doesn't have it either, but it can easily connect to my phone. Now, my Surface can too, but it requires a lot more talking for it to actually do what I need to do. Especially with the YTech, there's a lot more talking that has to be done for it to be done. Whereas my Autel does not need the internet, period, to diagnose the thing. And if it needs an update for anything, it's going to take a long time anyway. But if I need to get on the internet for something, it's there because it thinks it's a wireless connection anyway. Whereas all the talking that it has to do. Because those of you that don't know, a YTech, the dealer scan tool for Chrysler, or Fiat Chrysler, is a computer-based deal with a module that you plug in. So it's almost like that, but in most cases, it doesn't have all of the ability that your other scan tools have, because it's got more abilities. What I mean is it can't talk the same way. It has a dedicated talking to go to it, so it does it a lot slower. Whereas your aftermarket scan tools are pretty generic, so that's why they work quicker. They're doing generic stuff. That's why a lot of scan tools have this issue with stuff being exact, because they're doing a broad range of it. Whereas your factory scan tools are like, this is what I'm looking for, this is where I know it is, this is what that is. And it takes it longer to do that because of some weird reason. I was explained to this by a Chrysler tech when I was working on my RAM, and I forgot. But because of that, I always go to the Autel. In cases of misfires, when I have to get around that, the RAM with the Autel, especially this particular one, will not give me misfire data. Now I can go into generic and it'll give it to me, but I can't guarantee it, but it will give me something. But under normal OBD2, with looking at my vehicles under that, it will not. But what I can do is I can do a cylinder deactivation test where I can separate if I want to turn off the fuel or turn off the spark. Now, the launch doing the same vehicle, I can't remember which one. It won't let you do one of the two. It'll always be sparking or it'll always be giving fuel. I think it's a spark. I think it's always doing spark, and it will only turn off fuel. And then if you did the cylinder deactivation, it would always still be shooting fuel, but it would turn off the spark. You can never turn off both of them or turn off one of the two. I can't remember which one it is. Well, of course, that could be just with that model that I have, but that is the big reason I always go to my Autel. My Autel, no matter what faults that it has, I can always, there's always something in the Autel that lets you work around that. And I can't tell you how many vehicles I've gotten around the faults that the Autel has. So my opinion is, if you can't get the factory scan tool, I'm not saying go out and get like the expensive scan tools and then get multiple of them, especially if you're just going to be a weekend, I wouldn't even say I'm a weekend warrior. I really just work on, I'm just a hobbyist when it comes to that. So in essence, there are cheaper scan tools on the market. So I think Launch offers like a $400 around that. Really nice handheld, like a cell phone, but bigger scan tool. You can get that. I hate to say it, but unless you get one second hand, it's going to be hard for you to get an Autel for less than $1,000. It's going to be really hard. So I recommend deeply that if you're going to get a Autel, if you can't get one new, get one second hand, because I've gotten an Autel second hand for $800. No, I'm sorry. I got it second hand for $600, and I had to pay the $800 for the to get it updated. And then when I got the updated, it did go out, but because I paid that $800 and re-registered in my name, I just sent it in and they sent me another one. That's a great thing about Autel too. I won't say they're like no questions asked, but in most cases it's like no questions asked. If you send it and it's within reason, they'll send you a refurbished one or maybe a new one. I don't know. I've always been sent a refurbished one. Well, I won't say always. I've only replaced it once, and it was a refurbished one. But those are my answers for you. I use an Autel, a Launch, and the YTech, which is the factory scan tool for this 2014 Ram. But getting around it is the fact that I have those multiple scan tools that I don't have to rely on that one. If I had to say which one to get, I would recommend, if you're going to only be working on your vehicles, I would recommend getting the factory. Because more than likely, if you're working on your vehicles, you're going to want to get in more detail with it and such. But if you're just going to be like me, where you work on cars seldomly, really as a hobby, I would get an aftermarket one, because that one's going to suit you better, because there's no telling what you hook up to. I hooked up to a Mercedes yesterday. I hooked up to an Audi the day before that. And Monday, I hooked to an Impala, Chevy Impala. So there's no telling what you'll be hooking up to. And it was an Altima or something, but you'll never know what you're hooking up to. So if you're going to be only solely working on your vehicles only, you can get the factory scan tool. But if you're only going to be working on, like, no telling what's next, get an aftermarket. Now, I can't tell you between getting which one, an Autel or a Launch or whatever. That's really up to your preference of taste. So it's really, you'd have to play with both of them to find out. They're really both great scan tools. Really, in most cases, you'll find people will say that I'm reaching for whatever one because, you know, it's closest. So, peace.